Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Guns of Navarone, RMP, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to raise the mic on whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Yeah, you're going to have to remind Nathan what happened. I guarantee that's what he's going to say.
I didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything.
But you will have to remind me what happened yesterday. I don't know.
No, I said that was a really good show yesterday when we were on the one question for the whole show.
Oh yeah, we covered just Earth Curve. I even renamed the show and then forgot to publish it like a complete idiot. So I then went back to the live shows and realised the last 2 days' live shows I hadn't actually published. So if you didn't watch them live...
you lost some memory.
My priority is always the members-only video. So I literally sit in front of it waiting for it to render so I can publish it as soon as it's ready. Then just sometimes I forget the live show.
Yeah, so you broaden your reach and... you have 1 or 2 extra moves and you forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the best part is that we called it for what it was, a philosophy, a model.
Yeah.
Well, very few people talk about it that way. And it's good that you highlight it. I mean, if I walk up to anybody and say, you know, the world as you know it is a philosophy, right? A model. I say, what?
That's what I was just going to say. The world does not see it as a philosophy. Like me, I was taught it was fact.
Yeah, they're living within the false pseudo-reality of reification of this model. But given the parameters we give it and say, well, if it is real, it would be this, it would be that, it would show this, it wouldn't do this, it can't ever do this. And then they go, wow.
Well, no. They normally just claim ignorance and say, well, I'm sure it's figured out somewhere.
Well, I'm talking about the ones that see it and become awake to it.
Well, like Tommy Hench.
Like me. When I heard it like that, well, at first I tried to debunk it. And then I was like, wow, really? I never knew that. Holy shoot, the earth is flat.
For a marketing,
yeah, there you go.
For a marketing campaign for Weight Watchers. Now, I don't know if the iPad automatic algorithm is implying that I'm getting a bit fat, but there we go. There was an advert for Weight Watchers, and it had James Corden as the spokesperson, and he's fat. So he's on a Weight Watchers advert explaining that in 2021 he's going to try and lose weight. I thought, that is so effective, because the typical way round that they'll do it is they'll say, here's somebody who's skinny, and here's their before picture, a bit grainy, looking obviously a lot more overweight. And you think, well, it just doesn't seem to work as well, or at least when I watch James Corden overweight saying he's now using Weight Watchers, you're like, oh, right. So you're a fat guy saying you want to be thin guy and you want to use this service to do it. Now, I would hope that obviously he'll show his progression and get thin, and that'll be a great advert for Weight Watchers, or WW as he called it to be cool. My point is that way round is just miles more effective, in my opinion. And in the same way, the reason I mentioned Tommy is because he came here as a staunch globehead and then had a turnaround. Same thing applies with Father of a Stolen Child, John. He came as a staunch globe believer. And that's how we got introduced to these people, as globe believers. Then they have a turnaround, and the Black Swan was the description by John. Tommy's not here to give his reasons and whys and wherefores, but besides the point, seeing somebody go from the philosophy of a globe to a relinquishment of that philosophy, regardless of if they say, well, the conclusion is as obvious as it seems, Earth is flat, regardless of that conclusion, the relinquishment of that philosophy is an intriguing thing to watch actually happen. So it's nice that it has actually happened a few times, i.e. people have gone, my God, it can't possibly be a sphere. And you're like, yeah, we told you. That's much better than us saying, well, obviously I was once a globe head too. Yeah, so what? That's me holding up my fat picture.
Hey, you gotta find that if you can, of when Tommy was a glober, how obnoxious he was. Because I remember back then I used to just listen on YouTube, and he had come on, and he was so obnoxious.
Was this before me, or I can't remember this guy for some reason?
The video's titled Tommy Was a Globehead. That's what I titled it, because I saw it as significant at the time. So obviously most of the debates, I just, like I say, I'm paying more attention to getting the members only chat out than I am publishing the live show and worrying about that and retitling and such. But if there is a particularly significant show, I'll give it a title. In other words, it'll have a name on the show, like yesterday's show. So yesterday's show was, I can't remember what I titled it now, but something specifically about Earth curve, because that's all that got covered for one entire show from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm just trying to place Tommy. I may have forgotten him, but I can't place him right now for some reason.
Okay, fair enough. I'll send you a video. I'll send you a video with him smashing globe heads. I left him a comment this morning, actually. I didn't realise he was publishing videos, but great that he is. So I subscribed to him.
Oh, I know Tommy. Okay, I remember Tommy. I remember him coming on. He was super excited, and you had to say, okay, Tommy, let me talk now. I remember he kept talking.
Right, that's the guy. Very excitable. Nice enough bloke, I suppose. But staunch globe believer.
I enjoyed him, actually. He was a good guy.
Well, his attitude's exactly the same, and his demeanour's exactly the same, and his behaviour's exactly the same. He's just a flat earther now. So, take that as you will.
Yeah, he just took that sledgehammer, reversed the head, and starts pounding the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's quite amusing to me. I like it. So, hence I subscribed.
It was funny, man. I remember him now.
He's having a back.
Just said clicked.
He was having a back and forth with somebody in 24/7 Discord. And they were asserting that, well, in my example, I remove the air from a helium-filled balloon and the balloon goes down. And Tommy's arguing from, well, if you popped it, it would just fill the container. It's like, so I left him a comment and just said, look, the balloon itself is a container. And this guy's asserting that the gas is going down, go boom, boom. Well, inside the container, which in that example is a balloon, regardless of what's happening outside of the solid container, yeah? In other words, they're substituting a solid container going down. So what? Inside that container, the balloon, regardless if you're arbitrarily putting it inside a vacuum chamber for some reason, the gas inside it isn't going down. It's equally expanded in all directions inside the container, which would be the balloon in that example. So in other words, Tommy, at least, didn't seem to be able to get the guy from, well, the balloon goes down. It's like, yeah, but the balloon's not a gas. Now, he got that bit, but he's like, well, how do I take this to a comparison where I can still make my example exactly the same as it was prior to him saying, well, if I remove all the air in a vacuum chamber and put a helium balloon in, it'll go down. Like, yeah, but then you've got a gas inside a container, the balloon, and it's not going down inside the container. It's expanded equally in all directions. So, yeah, so a balloon, a solid, is going to go down when you remove all the air. Wowee, we're talking about the gas inside the container. And in that example, you've just made the balloon the container of the gas that we're describing to debunk this going down nonsense. So just focus on the balloon. If they want to remove the air from around a solid container, it's like, what about if I remove the air from around the vacuum chamber? It's just like, so what? Yeah, the balloon is still a container. It's got the gas expanded equally in all directions in it.
Incredible. It's so visually easy to see what's taking place, and they still fight it. It's just a desire not to know, not to be wanting to know. They just want it. They want to keep their bulk. So we got no one in Discord right now, huh? Apparently we got no one here.
Because we've won.
Yeah, exactly.
But I say we still continue, especially with the housekeeping questions, until someone can answer them.
I agree. 5 days a week, housekeeping questions, putting the globe believers on the stand and saying, show us your proof or overcome our housekeeping questions. And neither has happened. Get some funny clips, though.
Right. Never going to happen either. Never going to turn a philosophy into the real world. And that is their problem, not mine.
That's right. But, there's enough people who'll wake up when they see it, and the ones that don't want to wake up, that's on them. It's not as if they didn't hear the same words, didn't see the same arguments or hear them, and had a chance to see others debate and come up with their own reasoning. But if they don't want to reason, then why even talk about it? Kind of like when the holidays happen and the story goes about how, okay, don't talk about religion and politics, at the Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. Every year it's the same thing. Okay, if you want to have a good Thanksgiving, don't talk about religion and politics. I said, what's stupid? I stopped talking about that when I realized people didn't want to hear it.
Speaking of people wanting to hear it, I'm almost up to 100 channel members on Nathan Oakley 1980.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, when I started, I had less than 100 subscribers. Bearing in mind I made videos about hi-fi equipment, that didn't gain me any subscribers. People may come across it if they're looking for a particular product, but they're never going to subscribe for that. I mean, some might, but I had 100 subs, less than. And now I've got just under 100 members, which is epic, really. Same goes for the video views. The views that the members will watch accounts for obviously considerably more than I got when it was just subscribers. In other words, the video views from 100 subscribers is going to be a lot less than the video views from 100 members, if that makes sense.
Repeat that one more time.
If you start off as a YouTuber and you've got 100 subs,
yeah,
there's a good chance that you'll come back to a video after it being out for a day and find it's got 5 views. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, in other words, next to nobody's watched it, even though it's gone out to the public as well as to your subscribers. There's a good chance that hardly anybody will watch it at all. Well, when you've got 100 members as opposed to 100 subscribers, then there's a good chance that the majority of them will actually watch it. In other words, they're paying for the service. They're paying to be able to watch that video before anybody else does at their leisure, as opposed to when it's premiering and you can't scrub through the bits that you might have already watched, i.e. the live show. Well, for that privilege, they all want to watch the video and therefore do watch the video, which is excellent, but it's just a very stark contrast to 5 or 6 years ago when I started making videos about this subject.
No, I get it. It's like me. I'm subscribed to a lot of channels and, of course, not all flat earth related, but all kinds of things, cooking and, other science things and psychology and stuff. So if I don't get a notification and I don't see it on my phone, I probably won't, click on it to see what the latest is. So if the powers to be are blocking or shadowing or not allowing people to see what your work is, it's hidden 7 pages away from the top or whatever, then the only way is to have your own private subscriber group, and they're going to do it because, like you said, that's what they want.
Yeah, and it's getting to that point now. I mean, my estimations would be that it would be that at about 20,000 subscribers, and I really want to get to that number. That said, the realistic situation is I'm almost at that number, so therefore kind of things that I thought would apply when I look at them applying is like, well, that does make sense as I'm almost there.
Oh, you mean like ratios and percentages?
Yes.
Did you, by the way, did you ever watch Ford versus Ferrari?
No, I still haven't got that amp back. It's been in repair 6 months.
Gosh.
6 months. So the amp that runs the audio-visual side, the bit that's not show-related, basically. Although I have argued this before, the sub is genuinely show-related. So when I had it working, albeit on a different subwoofer, there was several occasions where, and I don't even know who did it, Quantum Eraser would just do something, I don't know what, that would cause a subsonic tone. And without the subwoofer, I don't know if that's happening. So in other words, the part of that amp, which is a 3-channel amp, does actually benefit the show, which is irritating. Now, it's not crucial to have that particular aspect, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to those things. I want it to sound good. So yeah, it's just annoying. But 6 months has been in repair.
Especially with those engines roaring.
Well, in that time, 2 other amps, the right channel amp and the center channel amp, both broke. Now, without the center channel, you can't even watch a movie because you can't hear what they're saying. So obviously that meant my wife nagged me non-stop from the moment it went in for repair. And he turned it around, the guy, my amp tech, turned it around in about a week, if not less, which was wonderful. That's the left channel, not the center channel. Because I'm like that. I make my living with that. I need it. Without it, I can't run the show. So he did turn that around quickly, and the same goes for the center channel. Maybe a couple of weeks at most. But the 3-channel amp, which runs the subwoofer and the rears, which obviously isn't that critical, it's just been away for ages. Really annoying.
I hear you. Showtime.
It is.
What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Brian's Logic, Arwin, who's trying to get in right during the intro, which is a real pain in the ass. Let's just let him in. 10th Man, father of a stolen child, otherwise known as Sean, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Ring.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, what an enthusiastic start. Wonderful stuff.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good, Nathan. Could I get 5 minutes later on when the housekeeping is over?
We'll rattle through them as quick as we possibly can, if you like. Any evidence of physical...
No, there's no rush. There's no rush. Thank you.
I'm keen to get to you. There is a rush, now you've suggested it. I'm going to put the pressure on, whether you like it or not. Go on, 10th.
No, I said we'll get to you in 5 minutes. Just let's go fast.
Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
None whatsoever.
Nope.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. No Earth-based Coriolis whatsoever to even validate that statement.
Go on, Owen.
Everything moves in lockstep or nothing is moving at all. You choose.
If everything's moving in lockstep, there'd be nothing to determine any differential between that and a completely stationary plane.
Indeed.
Is Discord flashing away because they can't be heard? Let's just reset Discord. Hold on 1 second. You guys hear me in Discord? I've got no audio from Discord. Just give me a second. I'll disconnect, refresh, restart, and hopefully Discord will start working. In the meantime, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No. No measurement for that.
Any rams from Discord or crit? Right, I'm going to move into the after show. Hopefully they'll join me in there, and hopefully that'll give me some audio. We'll see. I'll have to tell them though, won't I? If you can hear me in Discord, I'm going to go into the after show. If you follow me in there, hopefully the audio issue will be solved because I can't hear you. Rams, can you just do a quick sound check? Or Crit, can you do a quick sound check? One of you say something. Nobody's saying anything. What a great start to my live show. Crit, can you say something? Doesn't look like we've got any sound from Discord today. Well, isn't that a bummer? Maybe let's try.
It is.
If they can hear me, let's try the after show. See if that works and we get some sound from Discord. If not, it'll be a bit of a boring show because we don't have.
That sounds like Inception. We're going one more layer deeper.
Yeah, we are.
I could pretend to be a baller.
You could. You'd do a good job of it too, I'm sure. Can we just see if we can hear anything from Discord? Absolutely nothing. Well, isn't that wonderful?
John, hang on. I got an idea. John, can you pop into Discord and pop back out? Just check it.
I can see them all flashing. They're all talking. They're just not being heard. I don't know why. Everything seems to be functional at my end. This is a rubbish.
Yeah, I'll go check see what's going on.
Okay. Well, we're on our way through housekeeping because we've got a presentation, hopefully, or something to be discussed anyway. So, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No. Like no evidence of Discord sound. Same thing.
The scientific evidence of gravity?
What is gravity?
Reification fallacy.
There you go. No.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Making a little background noise,
no.
Arwin.
They can't get past observation.
Yeah, they need their own special NASA division where they could go up and travel to confirm any of these celestial phenomena that they've studied. You know? But I don't think they're going to do that. It's much easier to just stay here on Earth and just make up a lot of stories.
We would do it in a nanosecond, but we've lost the technology for that.
No. Yeah, I had that discussion with somebody in my chat at the end of my own show. Just holding on like... saying that that was actually legitimate because all the parts were handmade. Oh, really? That's really special. So yeah, so was Mercedes. 100 years ago. They can still be replicated by somebody now figuring it out with modern technology and then hand building it from scratch. So if they can do that, why couldn't they do that with 60-year-old outdated aerodynamics technology?
All right,
Yeah,
that's me testing Discord. Can't seem to figure out what's the issue.
They can't hear you, and but they're watching you on YouTube,
Sure, I'll try and
thinking that you
completely
might
close
can hear
down.
them.
Yeah, I'll close it down and see if I can get back in, and hopefully that'll fix the issue. We'll see. How did the call go? Very badly. Discord, don't be asking me when it all goes wrong.
Well, Arwen, in the age of 3D printers and machine shops with computer driven lathes and cutting tools, I'm sure they could easily replicate those parts.
Indeed. And also just 60 years of aerodynamics development. And once again, composite materials, like it's so far upgraded that the design that they originally used to supposedly accomplish this is literally outdated. It's not too difficult to build it back again. Because, yeah, you're not trying to make a historical museum piece. You're just trying to achieve a technology that could achieve the same thing, right? So, yeah, it would be very easy to replicate and heavily update whatever they're supposed to have done back then to accomplish the same thing and better.
What's wrong with you? They had the fuel. They got the fuel calculated. It's a fact they went to the moon because the fuel calculation is correct.
No, actually, it was the entertainment part. They had an 8-track player in the old one, and they need to go to a digital player now, and they're just not sure about it.
I'm just telling you what the Grassy Tyson says.
Well, if you want the real reason why they can't do it again, it's because camera resolutions have become too high.
That's exactly why. And I actually, aluminum tin foil is stronger and thinner now, so they could put less on it.
Right.
Any evidence?
Yeah,
of a
the hobo fortress could be designed in a much more efficient way.
That's a good one, Arwen. Hobo Fortress.
Another good name for a band, Hobo Fortress.
I mean the Moonlander, right?
Yeah, perfect. That was classic.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not from the Hobo Fortress.
Yeah, talking about which, it would be pretty funny if, like, there was some kind of Moonlander just dumped somewhere outside in an alley, and I think that over time hobos would probably take up living in there if it was just thrown out.
Actually, that would be an improvement because it gets cold and they have to have a lot of insulation.
Right. And they might even get a moon buggy out of it.
So much for your last question, Nathan.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, molten iron core, any evidence thereof?
Oh, pressure.
What about pressure?
Well, with that much pressure, that's what causes it to heat up, and that would change the parameters for the Curie point too.
So what are you saying?
Could it be magnetic?
So are you saying pressure is evidence that we've got a molten iron core?
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's all pushing in on the core like that. Yeah.
Can you demonstrate that if you actually press iron and stone and all that enough that it will melt? Can you demonstrate that?
Can you demonstrate the presupposition of the molten iron core at the presupposed center of a presupposed spherical Earth before you start claiming that there's going to be pressure as a result of it?
Oh no, it's not a result of it. The pressure is what causes it. There's just so much of everything.
Okay,
so much
Right.
mass.
Can you demonstrate that on a smaller scale?
No, not on the smaller scale. The assumption is that you've got a result as the pressure is the cause now, right? Okay, fine. But you're assuming that pressure.
Yeah, because of weight. Yeah.
Well, because of the mechanics
also,
of your sphere Earth and how the mechanics of that presupposed spherical Earth would work.
Right. That's why I didn't answer the other questions. If I didn't challenge them, then I could hold this as true.
What if you've got a presupposed spherical Earth with a presupposed molten iron core at the middle of it? Then you can start deducing that there'd be pressure and how much it'd be, and therefore that's the cause of the molten iron core and changes the parameters. That's also a special pleading fallacy.
Well, yeah, because the Earth's real special.
But you can't just appeal to the idea that having a pressure at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth would alter the Curie point of molten iron, which you don't know is there.
It's not really a defensible position. I give up.
Okay.
too much pressure.
No, just you lost, but that, nice that you can actually get to that stage with someone pretending to be a glowbed. Marvellous.
Too
Good
much
one, John.
pressure. John has reached his Curie point.
Peaking of
Yeah,
pressure.
good job.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon.
This is so basic, but what was Chaiki say on that recording Chocolate put up yesterday? The antecedent was the vacuum for the gas pressure.
Well,
hear
is
anything
there
from-
any kind of like a Curie point for magnetic viability of iron? Is there any point where basically gas, when it becomes thin enough, no longer is able to create the gravity that holds it to the ball?
What gravity? What are you
There's
talking
something
about?
like that too.
Quick couple of shout outs. Shout out to flatearthchannel.com, who's also one of my patrons, for joining as a penguin, and also shout out to Sol for also joining as a penguin.
What gravity, Arwen? That was the question.
Also, can you
The
hear us
bending
in,
of space-time?
Can you hear this in Discord now? Chris, can you say something? See if we can hear you. Clearly not.
I think this is one of those times for the ballers where they believe in mass attracting mass. They can't even really talk about entropy,
They believe it, but they don't claim it, though. They just think they claim it, but they don't.
Well, entropy is like entropy would be the opposite of mass attracting mass. It's mass leaving away from other masses, right?
No, not necessarily.
What's the best definition in one word for entropy? Anyone know it?
Change.
It's a description of a
that's it.
transition.
That's it. Change.
Right. A description of a transition and the fashion in which the transition will always happen. Like the direction of it.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Black Swan for chocolate. No, it's dead geometrically. And they have no radius. They have nothing. And it's like John was playing the baller there a minute ago with this molten iron core. He was assuming a sphere with a radius. So no, can't even have that because it's a presupposition and geometry kills their globe model.
Okay, so I take it that since nobody rebutted my question about at what point does gas no longer have the viable mass to cause gravity to hold it to the ball, I take it that skipping on answering that means that I've proven it?
No, he asked you a question. What's gravity? And he was going to ask you a follow-up question, but we got sidetracked.
Yeah. So that means I won.
No,
No, it
that means
doesn't.
Discord wasn't working.
Oh,
Yeah.
technical difficulty. So I won.
Gravity isn't sufficient to keep the gas there.
That was a good
That's
one,
just
Arwen.
what Rumpus says. And me too. I said it before him, but I'm not saying it right now.
Well, great.
Besides, gravity is not a force. It's the bending of space-time that's causing the gas to stick to the ball, not a force.
Can you show me bending time?
No, you can't. Nor can he show it you as a container. It's a concept.
It doesn't have to be contained. If
Yeah,
the
it
bending of
does.
space-time just creates this virtual hole in which the gas will gather, like a liquid.
Well, then
Even
just
though-
show that.
It doesn't happen.
Just show that.
Well, I can show metaphorical examples of it.
That's not showing it.
I know. That's why I've been asking people in my chat during my shows, like, can somebody actually show me how the bending of space-time is supposed to be causing this force or an acceleration? I've never even had an attempt of anybody answering it. It always ends up with just more metaphorical descriptions, because that's the only thing that exists in this time.
See,
Nobody can actually tell me how it's doing that.
I'm with MacGyver, Institute of Ninja Technology, who says, if we have a core, we must have a radius. Exactly. It all starts with the radius.
Well, that is the core of the argument.
Covered everything. Is that it?
I think so.
Brian?
Still haven't rebutted my claim, though.
Metaphorically, we have.
You used a concept and said that a bending concept would be a container for gas. So, simultaneously acknowledging that you'd require containment, but then equally asserting nonsense about a sphere Earth, without defining any parameters, and then claiming that a non-force force you can think of as a force acts as a container. Well, that's not an argument. What do you mean we
I
haven't
didn't
rebutted
say
it?
it acts like a force. I never brought that up. I just said that the bending of space-time causes a virtual container. So
Virtual?
it just alters the way normal space functions.
Normal? There is no
And
normal
therefore,
space.
it just contains it.
Ugh. This will go on and on. Arwen's in one of those moods.
Arwen, what is normal space?
Normal space is where the space-time is not being bent as normal.
What the hell are you on about?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to see where I'm going with this.
You're trying to see where you're going with it, are you? Well, that's good for us, eh? Can we move on to Brian?
Yes.
See, I won. I knew it.
You won.
Oh, running away, are you? I'll bite your legs
Yeah.
off.
I'll bite your legs off.
Hey, I don't. It's what I'm doing here is, I'm just going to shout someone out. It's another YouTuber, Flat Earther, but I have a little story to tell. There's a girl called Rachie 00000. So it's Rachie with 5 zeros. I just posted her channel. Sorry, there's a cat here. Her channel in the Master B. 1 second. We'll have to unmute a second.
That reminded me of that scene in the Bond movie with Spectre and the guy holding the cat. That's what I got at Brian right now.
Yeah, my cat decides. One of my cats, she's really bold. She decides to at the right at the wrong time. She decides she wants to meow and start sticking her nails in me.
All right,
But,
number one. All right,
yeah.
number one. Number 10's ready and listening.
But this girl Rachie, I posted her channel in the Master B if you want to put it out to the chat, Nathan. She's been a flat earth only the past year and a half, I think, or she's only been really kind of prevalent in the past 12 months, let's just say. And she does a lot of demonstrations where she shows things like coins under flat and under edges disappearing due to diffraction and compression. She has a pretty long hallway and she doesn't have a great phone, but she gets a load of other people's phones and cameras that are better. And she shows with different cameras, with different demonstrations, when she moves back, that the coins disappear, right? We all know why. It's diffraction, angular resolution, and then there's compression. She shows compression as well. Now, the ballers obviously get up in arms about this because they can't accept reality ever. They just accept reality. So they have her doing the same demonstration 10 and 12 different ways because they can't deal with it. And then they go off themselves and they start trying to do the demonstration. And of course, through the forum, they do their best to try to stop the effect from happening. But unfortunately, the effect still happens for them. And it's so much so that I even use one of them. This one guy, I won't even shout him out because he's a lawyer. This one guy, he did such a good demonstration that I saved his video and I show his video to people who claim that compression and diffraction won't make something disappear. I show his very video to people, right, to other ballers, right. But that's just a bit of background on Rachel, right. What she does, her channel is only small. She only has a couple of hundred subscribers. And she just works on doing small demonstrations because that's all she can do. She's a young mother and she just lives in an apartment with her partner, and that's all. She doesn't have, let's say, loads of money to get loads of things that she would want to do a bigger demonstration. But she saw my demonstration where I show optical drop, where I show the cardboard, the reference lines on the cardboard, and I have the laser. And I'm moving the cardboard back, and it all appears to drop below the crosshairs of the app I have on my phone. So she saw this demonstration, and she was very interested in it. And she realised that there was a tower. When she looked out the window of her apartment, her apartment is only on the second floor of her apartment building. She realised that there's a tower with a red light on top of it for airplanes in the distance. And she realised that when she looks straight out, she looks directly in line with this red light, or even the light might be slightly below her eye line. So she wanted to find out what height this light was at. So she found out that the base of the tower and the base of her building, there's 24 meters. The base of the tower is actually 24 meters above the base of her building. And then the tower itself is 270 meters up high again on top of that. So altogether in feet, the whole lot is the whole lot I think is 965.8 feet above sea level. The whole lot, the whole of the tower, and she's 500 feet, including our second floor apartment. She's about close on 500 feet above mean sea level. Now that would mean that there's 465.8 feet unaccounted for, okay, above her, yet she's seen it in her direct eye line. And the best part is, this is the best part, and this is one of the reasons I want to show her out, because this is really good, is that the tower is only 8 miles away from her. And it's absolutely driving the ballers up the wall. They are going up the wall with this, and they can't handle it whatsoever. It's only 8 miles away, so no matter what they do, no matter what nonsense they try and throw at her, there's nothing they can do. This tower, she's looking at the red light, and she shows it with her phone, although the video is not great because her phone is not great, and she's looking at the tower in the nighttime through a window, so it's not brilliant, but you can see the red light there. And she has given the location of the tower to the ballers. I don't know the location, but I trust her. And she's shown this tower that the red light on this tower is 465 feet above her eye line. Yet 8 miles away, she's looking straight at it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it absolutely proves what we've been saying for years in the real world. Not that we needed it, but it's really good. I just think it's really good. And I think that she does a lot of these small demonstrations with the coins disappearing and stuff that are really good. So I just wanted to shout her out, because it's YouTubers like ourselves who are doing little things like that, and they're hitting on things like this thing with the tower, and they're just not getting seen. You know, so I just wanted to shout her out. That's why I was doing that. Anthony is subscribed to her as well, as far as I know. So if the rest of you could have a look at our channel and maybe subscribe if you like, it would be good.
Yeah, I've got a video up, and I've stuck a link to a channel. So it's Rachie 00000 is the name of the YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Currently has 222 subscribers. So hopefully we can grow our channel a little bit. Check her out. I've put a link in the I've put a link in the info box, so go and subscribe to Rachie 00000. I might have had one too many zeros there. There we go.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nathan. It's just that the thing with the tower is absolutely epic. Not that we need it, but it's just really good to see the borders grow.
Right. Excellent. Nice to have a good recommendation. Spent a whole day yesterday, Brian. Were you around when we spent the entire day covering Earth curvature?
Yeah, I think me and you talking about it before the show got started. Actually, I think that's what got the ball rolling.
Well, indeed. So it's one of those that the entire Uncut and Live and After Show all were covering one subject, really specific. Every aspect of it was covered. You know, the black swan, the geometry, the lack of Earth curve, edge horizon. The whole thing was covered in great detail throughout the whole show. It was great. And then today, much more quiet. It's usually quiet at the moment with Discord anyway, but it's quieter than ever because Discord can't hear me, I can't hear them. But that, I'm sure, will resolve itself by tomorrow. Well, I hope so.
Do you want to pick a topic on one of the other questions, and we'll cover it today, Nathan? Because we might as well do something, have some direction.
Well, as it was prompted by Tommy, so Tommy released a video where he was arguing with somebody about a gas in a container going down in another container that had all the air removed from it. And my comment to him was to say, well, the balloon becomes the container in that example, and the balloon hasn't got gas going down, go boom boom inside the balloon. It's not pooling at the bottom, it's not fatter at the bottom. You know, the balloon, which becomes the container, somehow then put into another container that's had the gas removed on the outside of the container. Well, so what? Inside that container, the gas is expanded in all directions. So inside the balloon, the reason I bring this up is because Tommy was trying to make his opponent accept that once the balloon pops, it fill the chamber as the container. It's like, well, you don't need to pop the balloon. The balloon itself is a container, and it's got the expansion of gas being demonstrated within the balloon without you having to do anything. Not going down, go boom boom. So yeah, I'd like to focus on gas pressure without a container, where they take arbitrary containers, fill them with gas, and say, look, my gas container with gas in it goes down, go boom boom when I remove all the air from around it.
Yeah, sounds good to me, because they seem to not want to get that point. No matter how many times they're told it and shown it, they keep on wanting to think that some unproven theory keeps the gas where it is in an open system. Hey, next one.
Well, conceptual containers are what are holding the gas and the pressure gradient on Earth. So that must be the container.
In reality, and upon demonstration by the globe side, they need a container around the helium inside the vacuum chamber. So what if we didn't have the balloon around the gas, it would fill the vacuum chamber. That's the point that Tommy's making. I'm saying, well, you're making that to make the guy understand that the gas will fill the space, when he's saying, here's a solid container, and the solid container goes down when I remove all the air from a container that container is in. You're like, wowee. Inside the second container, inside the first container, the gas is expanded in all directions to fill the volume it has to fill. And it wouldn't be doing anything different in the larger container if you remove the balloon. Now, by analogy, the balloon, you could say, well, that's their Earth, and the vacuum around it is the vacuum of space, according to their religious worldview. Well, they need containment around the gas to stop it filling the vacuum, and Earth doesn't have that. But instead they argue about, well, no, gas can go down, go boom boom, because if I take a solid balloon, it will go down in a vacuum chamber. You're like, yeah, but gas doesn't have lots of balloons around it.
Exactly. They latch on to this balloon in a gas chamber or a vacuum chamber thing. And it's like they do their best not to use any logic whatsoever. I mean, it's obvious that if you release the helium out of the balloon, it's just going to fill the chamber. But they're focusing on why it goes down. The only reason it goes down is because the reason the balloon goes up when we have it outside in the air or in our houses or whatever, goes up to the ceiling, is because the other gases, the denser gases that make up air that are surrounding us, that gives a certain amount of structural resistance. So the fact that the helium, because it's compressed into the balloon, one is being displaced. Let's say because of its density, it's being displaced by the air and other gases around, the denser gases around it. So what happens is that they give a bit of structural resistance or structural support to help the balloon to rise, because the helium is being displaced by those other gases, and they help the balloon to rise with the helium. But in the vacuum chamber, there is no other gases. There is nothing. The only gas in there is the helium that's inside the balloon, and the density of the material of the balloon is enough to pull the helium in and down to the bottom. But if you pop that balloon, that helium is just going to fill the chamber.
Right.
The helium has no reason to go up. Do you know what I mean?
Likewise, you can make the same example with a tennis ball in a bathtub. Like, well, if you fill the bathtub, the tennis ball will be displaced by the water, so it's going to go up. It's going to rise with the water level as you fill the bathtub, right? It's going to head up. Well, that's because there's a medium underneath it to support it. But if you don't have the medium, you remove the water from the bath, well, it goes down. Well, there's nothing supporting it. Well, same likewise with a helium balloon and air. If there's nothing there to support it, it will also go down. But that doesn't change that within the containment of the balloon, which is also a container, the gas is expanded equally in all directions. As gas does. That's what gas does. Hey, Adam.
Exactly. It's a great example. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, boys and girls. We're all okay?
Yeah, very well. Got a funky Discord that doesn't work.
Oh.
There we go. Such is life. I'm sure it will fix itself by tomorrow.
Can I get a sound check?
Yeah, you can get a sound check.
Okay, my whole computer just rebooted right in front of me for some reason. And my TV turned on without me touching anything. Crazy.
Read out a quick comment from Christopher, who says, is it Christopher? Christopher? Bornia? Hope I've said that correctly. Boats disappear bottom up, behind the horizon. Don't know about your terminology there. Because of the angular size, resolution, and not because of an alleged curvature of the Earth. I agree with your sentiment, but angular size resolution is more often than not negated by something else, like a swell or a wave, or something in the foreground that's bigger than the thing based on its angular size. But that isn't just angular size at distance, because do you guys remember when Ranty had Life is Short on his show and he did a long presentation about this? Do any of you guys remember that?
Yeah,
I remember.
Well, in that presentation, he points out that he found very, very few examples where you could actually say, no, the point that we have an actual diffraction limit viewable at the horizon would be to have the most perfect crystal clear day imaginable. And he exampled Red Pill Philosophy's video of a roadway and some buildings into a very far distance. And he's like, this is so clear that you can actually see the point of the angular resolution limit at the horizon being breached based on the limitation of the angle. But unless you've got that, like, absolutely perfect conditions, which Red Pill Philosophy did have on that particular reel, well, if you don't have that, there's normally something else, most likely the weather, getting in the way. You know, it doesn't matter if you're looking over water, it could be the phase change, i.e. the water turning into gas, that causes a layer that's thicker in terms of the gas that's being produced at ground level before it makes its way up. Well, there's going to be more of it there, cluttering your view. And that is the most likely. Now, there's a whole list of things. And when the globe heads come along and say, look at all these flurfers lists of things that say you can cause obstruction from the bottom up. And you've got things like swells, atmosphere, angular resolution limit, perspective. The list goes on and on and on. Because there's plenty of examples of exactly that occurring in small and big scales. Yeah? Now, that's a long list from our side of the argument as realists looking at the world as it actually presents itself. But from their side, they've only got a geometric Earth curve calculator that's hijacked perspective and asserts that there's only one thing causing things to disappear into the distance, and that's Earth curve getting in the way, because there is no perspective in their world. So I've given you a quite a long, detailed sort of synopsis of your super chat. I'm just grateful that you've super chatted more than anything else, Christopher, if that's how you say your name. Hopefully it is. But yes, indeed, their assertion is singular. Earth curve got in the way. Well, what about if it got too small to see? Earth curve got in the way. What about if we point out that the Earth curve edge you're using is beyond its geometric capabilities. We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve. Thank you again for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully that's brought some clarity in terms of the gas pressure without a container argument when they start assigning multiple containers. This is so typical of globe heads. Here you go. Here's gas pressure without a container. What about those 2 containers you've used? This is gas pressure without a container. Shut up. Stupid flat earther. What do you mean 2 containers? Well, there's a container that you bought the gas in, and there's a container that you put the gas in. So that's 2 containers. Well, okay, here's gas pressure without a container. Gas goes down, go boom, boom. Here's a balloon in a vacuum chamber. But that is also 2 containers, though, isn't it?
I had a guy tell me he can't do it unless he uses 2 containers.
Adam's super chatted me. He's obviously feeling generous in this bright new year that we're having. He says, the Adam Meakin, been trying to get a job at NASA today, but apparently they have no space. Indeed. Sky vacuum is fake.
Good one, Adam.
Thank you for the super chat, Adam.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. But yeah.
Remember
Best Christmas cracker joke, that. Sorry, no, carry on, Brian.
No, that was better than a Christmas cracker joke. I've got something to say about Christmas crackers after this, actually. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Do you remember Friday's show when Virus was in and he was attacking you on Entropy and all that, Nathan?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, his claim was basically he was trying to claim somehow the temperature was it was a hidden beg in the question fallacy for gravity, but he was also kind of relinquishing gravity by trying to claim that temperature would stop the gas from all just leaving, because of the units of entropy, which is joules over Kelvin, is it? I'm not 100%
that is
sure
correct.
of that. But he was trying, basically, his whole claim is based on there being anything past the stratosphere. But as I have said before, and I think you already know this, there's nothing that can be proven past the stratosphere, because after that, after that, there was no high altitude balloons that can go any further than 50 kilometers up. So after that, it's only NASA sounding rockets is the only claim they have to anything that happens after the stratosphere. So, and in the stratosphere, the temperature rises from the bottom of the stratosphere up. The higher you go up in the stratosphere, the higher the temperature rises. So because he wasn't clear about his claim, so if his claim is that temperature is the reason why let's just say gas is not all leaving the Earth, let's just say, right? Because he believes it's a globe in his model. Then that he's basically using the sky vacuum. He's basically using information that's gained from the sky vacuum to back up a claim that entropy won't happen, and the gas won't go off out into the very same sky vacuum because of temperature readings that come from sounding rockets that go up into a sky vacuum. If you can understand what I'm saying.
I do.
Really, really screwed up.
You're correct. You just missed one aspect. So he also foisted upon us that we were asserting that the gas would have infinite kinetic energy, and then simultaneously implied that the gas, and I think this was a rumpus argument that he's been utilising, would almost get down to absolute zero. And I think it was Rams then asked him, well, are you implying that the gas will get to a certain point, reach absolute zero, and then fall back down again because it's lost its energy? So he was kind of implying that we are suggesting, as per the description of ideal gas, that we've got infinite kinetic energy. That was the only bit you missed. Other than that, yeah, that's exactly what his argument was. Correct. He's begging the question fallacy. It wrapped up in a load of nonsense obfuscation and utilisation of concepts that don't actually occur, i.e. gas reaching absolute zero, running out of energy, and then falling back to the ground. Gas go down, go boom, boom, by way of begging the question fallacy, utilising a sky vacuum, which he's trying to prove.
thinking about this one, Brian and Nathan, and obviously to get to absolute zero will be the point that you've no kinetic energy left and the molecule stops. But even at point 0.000000000000001 above 0 Kelvin, still got kinetic energy, so it would still be moving. There isn't a point, because it can't get to zero. Zero is the point when it stops, but it'll never get. It can't get to zero, therefore it never stops.
Right. Well, no, never stops would be no change, correct?
No, what I mean is that if for whatever reason it was able on its journey, on an uninterrupted journey, to lose kinetic energy in some way, yeah. Without topping it up with all the, the sun and everything. But if that was still possible, because it can never reach zero and the kinetic speed is proportional to the temperature, because you can never get the temperature to absolute zero, then this kinetic speed will never actually get to zero. So even if it was going really, really slow, it's still going in the same direction away.
Right. So what you're saying is, while our description of high-speed gas moving in all directions, regardless of how close to absolute zero it gets, it's never going to stop. Now, it might slow right down, but who cares? The behaviour is identical, even if it's at a slower rate.
Yeah.
And
it might slow down to walking pace, but it's still going in that direction.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, the reason I use the word change was because of 10th Man's trying to tie that to entropy earlier, which is what entropy is, right? Entropy would cease if it could reach absolute zero. Entropy does not cease. So it's still going to expand to fill the volume regardless of its temperature. Now, the proportionality with time is still measurable with entropy. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to negate entropy by saying, well, it almost stops. It's like, no, it's still going to expand in all directions. Doesn't matter how fast it does it. And by asking me whether or not I know joules per Kelvin, which I didn't at the time, who cares? It doesn't matter. The process is the same. Qualifying it in terms of the time, it's like, what are you saying? You can drag out the time it'll take. Still doesn't change the fact that gas fills space.
I've still got the. Can I jump
go on,
in?
Paul. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I remember we asked last time I came in. This is funny that I came in. Like this topic came up. Adam, did you ever do the research on like the vector, the direction of the particle moving, or the vibrational rate of the particle? Which is it?
Yeah, I read it that day. As far as I could see, it was vibrational speed is just basically more applicable to solids within their matrix, and their contained energies is summarized as vibrational. But when in a gas, there is very little vibration; it just translates as kinetic.
Right, and that.
So where does that So when it loses a photon and its energy state goes, and it's accelerating in one direction. So under conservation laws, where did that energy?
Why are we losing a proton?
It doesn't lose a proton. No. So if you've got a brick,
photon. I mean,
right,
photon. Sorry,
it's okay. If you've got a brick and it's vibrating, right, that vibration is severe enough to occasionally break off part of the brick. Tiny amount because of the vibration. In other words, go on.
Like I say, those two things aren't linked.
I know they're not. That's what I'm saying.
The photon emission is due to internal energy levels, quanta, to move from one layer to the other. The thing we're talking about is internal energy of movement and speed, not an action within the shells, simply.
Indeed.
May I bring in something on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam, the kinetic energy that we're talking about, and obviously Paul had that one GIF where it was a container and you can turn up.
We lost you, 10th. 10th.
While he's gone, I was wanting to ask Akumo if he thought the sun is no longer energizing the particles after they reach a certain point.
Number one, he's not in Discord. Number two, Discord can't hear me and I can't hear them today. But
I'm sure he's watching.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to say, feel free to verbalise it once more so Virus can actually answer it next time he's available.
Yeah, at what point does the sun stop energizing the particle of gas?
You will get an answer. We'll see. Shout out to Henrik for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. I don't really understand this question, but it's apparently a good question according to Rob H. MacGyver, again, Institute of Ninja Technology. If satellites, in quotes, measured sea level from Narnia, he means space, can we trust sea level? Yeah, we can. Regardless of what they're claiming. They're claiming it's wrapped around a sphere, so they've got a contradiction in terms straight away when they call it sea level. But the sea level bit, we can definitely trust water finds and maintains its level.
All right, I'm back. I had network connections. I don't know if my statement got out.
Nope. We got first two words.
All right, so my thing is to even have temperature, you got to have container because the gas particles either cool down or heat up. So where's the argument?
I don't know. Go on, Adam.
That was me. That was Brian. Yeah, no, see, Virus' argument is that basically they know that the sky vacuum is possible. And what I mean is that they know that it's possible to have gas pressure here and have a sky vacuum next to it and it be an open system. And how they know that's possible is because of information they got from the sky vacuum. That's basically the argument. Because as I said, anything from the bottom of the stratosphere to the top, the temperature rises. And anything after that, there is no evidence outside of NASA sounding rockets to go off out into a sky vacuum and release a canister, and then that canister picks up whatever data and then falls back down to Earth. That's their claim. So anything past, so their claim is that things get colder and colder, and it gets to a point where basically there is just kind of like things that become static due to temperature. But there's a lot of problems with that anyway. But rather than arguing about that and the amount of particles that would be there and all this, there's no evidence of anything past the top of the stratosphere. And it heats up, it continually heats up from the bottom to the top. So they have so the whole argument is a disaster because Virus's argument is that they know that the sky vacuum sitting next to gas pressure is possible in an open system because they got information from the sky vacuum.
Yeah, it's akin to pointing at the sky and saying, well, we know gas doesn't fill the space. Look, gas isn't filling the space. It's like, no, that's your assumption that there's a sky vacuum. And by way of what? Special pleading? It just doesn't fill it in line with the law of nature that is entropic law or the second law of thermodynamics. Well, that's special pleading and a begging the question fallacy. The sky is a vacuum and the gas isn't filling it. That's how the gas isn't filling it.
Well, that was my very point, because if it's what they say it is, then they could demonstrate it by cooling the very top part, but leaving a little room above that, and see if any gas particles go there. But they can't demonstrate that because gas will fill the available space if it's an enclosed container. And then if they open the container, there's nothing to measure because all the gas would leave.
Worse again is that actual argument is relinquishing gravity as the reason that they have gas pressure held to, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to use entropy instead of gravity. They're trying to show how entropy and temperatures would stop it from happening, or temperatures would stop entropy from happening in the way we expect it to happen. Yep. But that means they're not claiming gravity.
Exactly. Trying to debunk entropy. And Rumpus continually comes here and just denies it flat out, says there's no such thing as natural law. You know, they deny entropy, and then they'll appeal to the description when they're giving their examples. It's amazing. Quick shout out to Christopher again, or Christopher. He says, if Earth was spherical, a drop of 8 inches per mile squared should be seen. Absolutely no curvature can be seen with optics. Right, there's no curvature. Measured flat, observably flat, and the only assertion that it isn't requires you turning your view side on after taking a picture of the horizon and claiming that horizon's a physical geometric sphere edge obscuring things into the distance, while people at trench level, after seeing the black swan, Tell us how non-physical it is. Thank you for the super chat.
Indeed. Nathan, that would be a good topic tomorrow, is to, just like we had the one show yesterday on one subject, if I could request that we really drill into the Muppet vision, the side-on view, and how they do that, because I think that will wake up a lot of people. I really enjoy the contrast of what reality is versus what they put on that side-on view and want you to philosophize into reality.
Well, it's as simple as seeing the side of your own head. As soon as you see any globe comparison to a physical reified Earth curve edge at the horizon, and an assertion that the thing in the distance that's being blocked from the bottom up is being blocked by that Earth curve, you'll see the depiction in side-on view, 90 degrees to where the picture was taken. So in the picture, you'll have no sign of you because you're taking the picture, and there'll be a horizon running left to right in the image. In a globe Earth world, your image will be presented with the target on the right and you on the left, and a line drawn between the two, an Earth curve getting between the two of them. But that Earth curve is the only thing that gets in the way, because the target will be assigned a whole number value. That will be an actual size, feet and inches or meters, that doesn't change with distance. So the only thing that's causing it to get blocked, according to their vernacular, is the obstruction of the Earth curve between target on the left and observer on the right, or vice versa. So those depictions remove aspects of perspective and leave you with you and the side of your own head in an image being compared to something that doesn't have the side of your own head in the picture and has a horizon running left to right, rather than a physical sphere edge that's drawn as a curve from left to right also, with a little X marking a spot saying that's the horizon. A little X. It's like, well, the horizon doesn't present itself that way, and we don't see the side of our own head. And I haven't taken this from a perspective halfway out to the moon with the sphere Earth depicted at the edge of it. None of that's actually what's occurred in terms of the way your photography's taken. You just see the world with perspective, with things getting smaller and smaller until they disappear into the distance. Simple.
There goes tomorrow's show.
There goes tomorrow's show.
Simple.
What do you mean?
It's simple, but with the imagery, it's just so powerful. So I'll see if I could get some images. I'll throw it up tomorrow, and you can do it again.
Yeah, that was a very, very rough and same thing though, right?
Oh, that was good. That was a good summary you just gave.
Fair enough. I might actually round the show out a little bit early and ask anybody who's watching on either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams to stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live with all the technical difficulties that we've experienced, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley channel member, or smashed the super chat. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
And the particle slows down. I hate to say it, but that might be evidence of the ether. Sorry to say. Just like the boat.
Why would it do that?
Why not? Directional velocity. If it's going in a certain direction and it's slowing down because it's losing kinetic energy, that means it has to be in something causing that to slow down. Of course,
right. The bottom of the boat is hitting the water. The friction is slowing it down.
Okay, so what's happening to the particle What's the friction it's getting cause it to slow down?
Why are you assuming the particle's slowing down? I don't understand.
I think the baby's crying.
Kinetic energy, losing kinetic energy. We were talking about that. This is what I was asking. The vibrational rate.
Kinetic energy is proportional to the temperature,
which is increasing.
Okay, if the particle is accelerating in a certain direction, you're saying that it's losing kinetic energy, which means the particle moving in a certain direction is slowing.
No, I'm not saying it's losing any energy at all.
Okay. Well, I misunderstood then. But that's what I was trying to get to. Like, if a particle is moving in a certain direction, it's accelerating a certain or not accelerating, but it's moving and accelerating in a certain direction with a certain velocity. Okay, gotta go.
It's only accelerating and doesn't lose energy until it meets the container limit and starts pressing up against other gas.
Well, no, if it changes temperature, then yeah, it might change speed. But so what? Why are you saying that it's going to decrease? Are you saying that it's definitely going down in temperature as it goes up?
He initially used a speedboat that was accelerating at a certain miles per hour on water, and then when you turn off the motor, it's gradually going to slow down. And then I said, yeah, that's because there's friction on the water, it's meeting resistance, and you stop the power to it. So I that's what I see. I don't know. That's
there is
too
no
simple.
If it's expanding into a vacuum, the gas has no resistance. It just expands. And it might very rarely bang into one of its own kind, another particle of gas, but chances are not in a vast space. It'll just expand, and if the part of the area it's expanding into is a lower temperature, but I don't see how that could be the case if you're talking about expansion into a vacuum.
So proportional is based on temperature then. Is that what you were saying, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because if you heat it up, it's going to get excited and vibrate a lot. And if you don't, it's going to do what it normally does when you don't heat it up.
Next question. Why the appeal to the ether, Paul?
Okay, sorry, I got a phone call, and of course Jesse was screaming in the background, so I hope I got to call another call on that. Well, no, I'm just saying is like you're saying that. I guess then something's still not clear. You're talking about kinetic energy. Now, are you talking about directional velocity when you're talking about kinetic energy, or what are you talking about? You're talking about the vibrational rate of the particle when it's energized for heat or whatever. What are you talking about?
Adam?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm not sure what you're asking, but I mean, translationally, along with some of the other factors, but put simply, in an ideal gas, then the kinetic energy is proportional to the temperature that the molecules are at.
I get that.
Expression of their relative energy level.
Let's talk about one particle. This is where I always try to illustrate. We're trying to illustrate what we're talking about one particle. It's been energized. It's got a lot of energy. It's traveling very rapidly in one direction.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you're saying as that particle cools down.
No. Well, why is it cooling down?
That's what I'm asking you. So if it doesn't look, so it's not going to cool down, right?
Off it's gone. It's got its energy level. Okay, which we can express as temperature, and from that generate a normal distribution of all of those particles, and they'll be normally distributed with different energy levels. Yeah. So if we take one random one, now the way in which the interaction will alter that normal distribution, but you send him off, and he's got that kinetic energy. That doesn't change unless something interferes with him. So if he's just off into a gas, then off he goes. Off into a vacuum, off he goes. There's nothing there to then interfere with him. He's only going to change if it interferes with him.
Okay, so basically, we put all these particles together. One particle collides and transfers some of its energy to the other particle, or transfers it to the walls of the container, or it transfers that energy out, some of it out. Because
of entropy, if there's disequilibrium in the system, then heat goes to cold, doesn't it? So it's like when we said that. the container can have some interaction with it. It can draw energy, can't it, if the container's cooler, which is why you say you keep things at standard temperature and pressure. So it's important to keep those parameters because they affect the gas behavior. They energize or de-energize the particles, the temperature. So that can happen. But for that to occur, for that entropic effect to occur in terms of energy, there has to be interaction. It doesn't just magically go from one particle to another. They've got to interact in that sense, and that's why you get the normal distribution. But there has to be that interaction. So if it's going, it's just off on its own, isn't it? Unless something else affects it, either directionally or energetically.
And
I guess that's the point. Sorry,
and you're saying just one. You're just saying one particle, Paul. And what Adam's trying to say is, when you try and qualify in terms of what the temperature would be, well, you need a certain amount of interactions between the gas in a standardized form to be able to qualify that, whereas your example's got one particle. And as we covered earlier, unless you reach absolute zero, its behavior, even if you say, well, because it's on its own and it's not colliding with any other particles in a confined space, then the temperature of that particle is going to be lower. Okay, but it still has the same behavior.
Right. Well, I'm saying, can that particle, I guess that'd be, like I said, is absolute zero only in relationship to other particles, or can that particle that's accelerating away by itself reach absolute zero and stop?
No, it can't. That's the point. It can never reach absolute zero. So it will always exhibit the same behavior. You can't reach absolute zero.
Wait a minute, though. Okay. Well, hold on. So it can't reach absolute zero, which means its movement can never be 100%. It can slow down, but it can never accelerate without something energizing it. So my question is, if that single particle is losing energy, can it slow down?
Why is it losing energy? You keep saying this. You keep attributing a loss of energy from someone. I don't know why.
Well, because you keep talking, okay, absolute zero means the particles are slowing down, there are less collisions, there's less things happening. That's what's causing absolute zero, which means the movement of the particles is slowing down. It's slowing down. I'm still talking about that single particle. Can it slow down if it's not interacting with anything? You said
That
no.
only happened within a confined container where it rubs off its energy to the other gas particles. And if it was the only particle within a container, it's still going to interact with the container walls that might have another temperature and thus give off some of its heat energy. In the theoretical outer space vacuum, there is no container wall to rub off onto. So if it's just a single particle, it's just going to keep on going forever because there's nothing to rub its energy off.
Okay, and you may think I'm trying to derail the conversation, but I'm not actually. I'm trying to help it because I think that's something you got to say. When a particle's accelerating away, it starts to cool down and it falls back down. That's what they'll say.
It doesn't. Why? You've said it again. It's going away and it starts to cool down. Why do you keep where's that statement coming from?
This is what the ballers say. That's why.
There you go.
Yeah, so what?
I'm trying to help the progression of the conversation and trying to be more specific. That's all I'm trying to do. So, go ahead. I got kids that screaming.
Again, I'll just say it one more time. Even if it does slow down, so let's say, okay, it's slowing down because it's not losing any energy and not getting colder, but not that that's relevant. Let's just beg the question that it's going to slow down. So what? What changes? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Still just, I was about to say F's off into space. It still dissipates and fills the availability of volume, regardless of what pace it does it at. Proportional to time. What proportional? How much proportional? Who cares? It's still going to expand out. Even if we say, okay, right, well, okay, let's say it gets colder. It's relinquishing energy and therefore that's dissipating its heat somehow. And therefore it's going to go slower. Okay, let's just say that just to entertain this. So it doesn't go round and round in circles. Still going to exhibit exactly the same behavior. Still going to fill the availability of space it's got. That single particle.
Well,
that's the important thing to say. That's all. Real quick. That's the important thing to say. Even if it slows down, it's still going to fill because it's still got kinetic energy.
Yep, it's still going to have gas behavior.
Can I ask a really complicated question, really quickly? What's the minimum and maximum speed of gas?
Doesn't matter.
What I was going to ask something. involves the movement of gas. It's like, what causes gas to move? Is it temperature that can cause that? Like, okay, let's say a rising temperature will excite a gas and will cause it to be less dense and that, and a dropping temperature will cause it to be more dense and blah blah blah. But what gives gas its movement?
Yeah,
What gives
you're
gas
asking for
its initial energy?
You might as well ask for the meaning of life, because
Yeah, exactly.
right. Well, what gives the fundamental property of that particular state its fundamental property? I'd love to know the cause of that, but that's why gas law is gas law and not gas science.
Exactly. So I mean, that's my point. It's like we can't say what would bring it to a point of no movement when we don't even know what causes it to have movement in the first place.
Right. What causes gas? You're saying the question is, what causes gas to expand in all directions to fill the availability of volume, to then require us to describe it with the natural law, which is merely a description of that phenomena which occurs always. Why does gas behave like gas? I don't know. Nobody's ever going to know that. That's like asking for the meaning of life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. It's like, we don't know what causes gas to do this. So we can't, because I know Paul is playing kind of devil's advocate using the boiler's arguments, but we don't know what causes gas to do what it does in the first place. So we can't determine what would stop it doing it. Because we can't stop it being gas. Can you stop a gas other than turning it back into a liquid? You know?
Right, yeah, you can induce a phase change, but when you're not changing the phase of the gas into a completely different state, then gas just behaves like gas. If it's a gas, it just does what gas does. Why does gas do what it does? I don't know. But we qualify it because that's what it does always, without exception. You're never going to get it to absolute zero to see if it does actually stop, because you can't achieve it. So while we can speculate, well, I think it might stop at absolute zero. Really? How'd you know? Well, we don't, but, based on the fact that it slows right down when we get right close, that would imply that it stops. Would it? What, like having a gas pressure gradient implies we've got a vacuum? No, it doesn't imply anything. In reality, you can't do it. It violates the laws of nature. The very nature of our existence is how it is. And are you ever going to figure out why gas is like it is? No, of course not.
Yeah, I think the lowest temperature ever recorded was recorded supposedly in Antarctica, and it's like -89 or something crazy like that. And there was still gas there that was still behaving as gas.
Of course.
So, I mean, people think, because I'm not pointing at Paul now. I'm just pointing out what the kind of arguments Paul was making that he's hearing from the borders. Just because heat and let's say temperature, let's call it temperature, hot and cold, just because that affects a gas, that doesn't mean that you can make a gas go and stop with hot and stop with cold. You know what I mean? This is where they're working at. This is where their brains are at. You can't stop a gas with just being cold. You know?
Yeah. But they can speculate about what will happen at absolute zero and then say, well, we can get very close. So my speculation of what would happen is pretty much going to happen. So gas go down, go boom, boom, like bouncy balls in a fish tank. Here's an example with 2 containers.
Exactly. This is their new argument, that if we work outside the parameters of reality and conceptualize the gas, something will happen to a gas that we have absolutely zero evidence will happen, then that will allow us to keep dreaming. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, they want to be able to continually conceptualize and then reify their model into existence, and that allows them to do it. If I have a special pleading fallacy that says that gas will behave in a different way when it reaches an area I cannot visit and I'm lied to about because it stands in violation of natural law, then the gas will behave like that. And therefore, when I just point at the sky and say, well, gas isn't doing that, it all makes perfect sense to me. No, we're asking you to justify why gas isn't filling a sky vacuum you think is there in violation of natural law, not just point at it and say, well, it isn't. Like, that doesn't prove your fundy belief. Your fundamental belief stands in violation of natural law. The way things actually work, regardless of if we know the reason why they work like that or not, is still the way things just work in reality. And they need to appeal to their conceptualization, make a special pleading fallacy in terms of how worlds actually work when you're stood on their surface, and then compare them to a model and say, well, in my model, it would work as follows. Therefore, we can have gas pressure without a container. No. Useless. But that's what fundamentalist religious zealots do.
There's a lot of cognitive pain out there. A lot.
Well, that's what you do. When you lose all the important arguments, you just start to chip away at the foundations and try to make everything fluid so you can justify and twist things into some kind of virtual winning situation. And that's what they're doing. They're chipping away at everything. Every common sense thing, every foundation in physics.
Yeah, usually they'll project their pain onto their opponent also, with an ad hominem attack of some form or another, usually preceded by a hand-wave dismissal of the argument that they've just been defeated with.
Wouldn't it be appropriate at this time to say, where'd you get the gas pressure to begin with?
Exactly. Their examples always have a couple of containers involved.
Yeah, they're in a situation that maybe it's down to there being new ballers around, but I'm still getting 6 years later. I'm still getting asked about my mathematics level, as if that has anything to do with anything in the natural world or science experiments. Nothing to do with anything.
Yeah,
well, actually, you're wrong, because all your arguments add up.
Use the quantum eraser response, Brian. Go to a maths forum. We're dealing with physics. That would be the physical. Go and deal with somebody that wants to qualify things in the abstract. That's maths. Wrong forum.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. 6 years into it, and still getting this nonsense. You know, and everything with them, like I'm still running into ballers who are trying to mathematicalize everything. That if something isn't backed by a lot of maths, that it can't be real.
Yeah, the red rhetoric approach. That was red rhetoric back in 2014-15, when, you know, everybody's got to qualify everything in the physical with mathematics, because math is reality. That was words out of red rhetoric's mouth. Math is reality. No, it's abstract, you complete and utter fool. But people still buy that because that's how it's presented to them when they're told that they're doing the science. Well, let's science this. And then they show them an equation.
What we've just been discussing, Nathan, there in terms of the gas behaviour and the formula is a good example how maths isn't reality. It works. It's lovely. It's great for us to calculate stuff, but it isn't real. It isn't reality what we're doing, as exemplified by the fact that in the formula, in the maths, you can have absolute zero. But one of the first things you talk about this is things fine, except you can't put zero in because it doesn't work, and you can never get to that state. So the maths actually allows a situation that the understanding actually negates. It's odd that again, it's a reification of the maths, as if the maths is actually the reality of what's going on. It's not. It's something we've calculated and is a useful tool, but it's not a reification. It's not a representation of actually reality.
Exactly. An example would be Sleeping Warriors example with ice cream. So can you give me the mathematical answer to this question, please, Adam? So if I've got 2 ice creams and you ask me for 3 ice creams and I give you them, how many ice creams have you got? Or how many ice creams have I got?
Yeah. You've got 3 and I've got -1.
-1? So, and that's a possibility in reality, is it -1 ice cream?
No.
Yeah,
Right.
but he's just going to owe you one. That's what they told me.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but in
matter.
reality...
It's still reality, 'cause he's going to owe you one.
But an IOU isn't a physical ice cream. And you can't have -1.
It'll eventually become one, they said.
Yeah, but you can't have a -1 ice cream. There's no such physical thing exists. So it doesn't exist in reality. It only exists in the maths. The -1 ice cream only exists in maths. does not exist in physicality. That's the point.
I think a banker would disagree with that notion.
Not at all. His entire life is based on that principle. Au contraire, Arwin.
No, that's all IOUs. That's what they do.
Yeah, that
That's a
don't
bank
exist in reality, even if you compare it to the paper money you hold. So you have the illusion of something physical with worth. What's the paper actually worth, Arwin? So it's just
depends on what the consensus is.
The
about
paper's
it.
merely an IOU. Promissory note.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a perfect comparison. You're saying it's wrong and using it as an example in the contrary. My God, Arwin, come on.
What? It's wrong.
Yeah, it's an exact.
No, I said as a the notion.
He complimented you.
Oh, he's agreeing. My bad.
The notion that -1 would be impossible is the notion that a banker would disagree with, because they use it all the time. Conceptually, that is.
I still like the ice cream one because at least I could scoop that one up.
Do you know what fiat currency is, Arwin?
Yeah.
What's fiat currency?
It's a promissory system. It's fiat.
Right. So in actual terms, is there something? Are you giving me an exchange, a barter? Am I getting gold out of you when you give me your promissory note, or are you -1 ice cream? Well, if I die the following day, will you get your -1 ice cream reified into existence then? Well, it still exists in paper. You've got it written down. Well, if I'm the manufacturer of the ice cream and I die, does the -1 ice cream still exist beyond the paper that it's written down on? Same goes for the promissory note that is the cash that you're holding.
All right.
It's just it's a good example. What I'm saying is you've brought it up to contrast it and say, well, it's not like a banker would agree. It's like, well, no, the principle you're describing is exactly analogous, because in reality, -1 when someone owes somebody something doesn't mean that they've got a net. Suddenly their table vanishes, part of their car suddenly vanishes because they've got a debt owed, because nothing's happening in physicality.
So Nathan, then they can go as far as multiplying and dividing that -1 ice cream, and it's still not reality.
There's consequences from the mathematics, right? That would be the potential of it being reified into existence, the ice cream becoming real at a later date. Oh, okay. Well, that's changing the maths, the number, the IOU into the actual physical. But while it's on the note as an IOU, there is nothing physical.
Right, I get it.
Maths is not reality. Physics, the physical, that's reality. Maths is merely language, it just describes things. Fascinating stuff, eh? Anyway, back to the point. Back in 2014-15, we were told math is reality. And here's the maths, where I insert an R value, for why we stand on a sphere. All right, so the math says we're on a sphere, so we're on a sphere. Consensus says we're on a sphere, so we're on a sphere. The view outside my window says it's flat. The surveyors measure it flat, but you say it's a sphere because you've got a religious worldview and the consensus agrees. Because math is reality. No, it isn't.
I remember that statement, Nathan. I remember making that. And it became a big joke, especially after he, in fairness to Jaron, and you told a story again a while ago, where he was doing some nonsense in a debate with Jaron, and he said, and now I'm going to, what did he say? Account for the curvature. And he started trying to mathematicalize everything. And Jaron said to him, why are you doing that? Whatever it was flat, whatever they were. And then suddenly the measurements, he had to account for the curvature, which meant add a load of maths to it to make it, whatever it was, curved. Account for the globe. And he just made a major idiot of himself.
Yeah, measuring angles to the celestial bodies is what you're referring to. Well, if I measure the angle from this location and then measure the angle from that location, then I insert r to account for the fact that obviously they've got a spherical surface between them, then I get my measurements out to these astronomical distances, exactly as we'd expect in the model, that also assumes r, and gets us the values in the first instance when we assume r. So when I insert r, it matches when they presupposed r, proving r. Not me begging the question.
Yes, that was it. That was it. I couldn't remember it. That was the very thing.
All they know. That's why the Black Swan is as beautiful as it is. Because we beg the question at the first statement in Modus Tollens. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959. So we're starting with the premise that we're on a sphere. And then we demonstrate how it's not by proving that we don't have a physical geometric spheroid for a horizon. So they can't derive r. So all of these insertions of mathematics that are reality according to Red's rhetoric of an r value, because obviously I can assume that we've got a curved surface between two observers of a celestial non-tangible object that I'm measuring and then inserting an r value because of the curved surface I've assumed. And then it matched the model, which also assumed the curved surface and gave us the values in the first place. Isn't that wonderful? This isn't circular in any way, shape or form. My assumption of a sphere proves that I'm on a sphere.
Yeah, back in 2015, the first observation that was done, that was way too far for their mathematics to account for, and even their 7/6R to account for, refraction to account for. The very first time that they had to start throwing super 7/6R or whatever nonsense at it was actually the actual end of the globe there and then. Because it only takes one observation that they cannot explain. And I remember back in 2015, people were trying to get as high as possible to see as far as possible, type things. And the very first one of them that they couldn't explain actually ended the globe.
Just for those who aren't aware, as it's on screen, that's the Black Swan image that was originally used to make this argument. So you've got platform habitat at 9.6 miles, I think that's the name of this, and the distance it demarcates, with its legs showing in the water, and then the horizon beyond it, in excess of 10 miles. Well, from a 1 foot observer height, which this is, you shouldn't be able to see, according to their globe Earth model, parts of, quite majority of, these oil rigs in the first instance, but the physical geometric spheroid horizon should be in the near foreground. In fact, it should be prior to this actual image of the water at the bottom. The horizon would be way out of frame. If it was a physical geometric spheroid, it'd be at 1.2 miles. And it's at 10. It's behind the things it should be obscuring. And the rebuttal is, well, we don't have a geometric horizon. That only exists in the maths. We wouldn't expect to see geometric horizons. Not realising that that rebuttal relinquishes their claim that we've got a geometric horizon blocking things in the distance, with their maths that says we've got a physical horizon, marked with an X, labelled horizon, in their maths. Blocking stuff. Physical. Yeah, it's a big bad day if you're a globehead when you come to this image, because this image debunks the physical geometric spheroid as a horizon. And that is Earth curve. The only thing they've got to assert, if you haven't got a sky vacuum to claim you've got pictures from it, because it's in a second law of thermodynamics violation, automatically debunking all pictures from space, all they've got left is their ground-based observations where they assume R. And if you've debunked R because you can't measure it, i.e. you can't derive an R value to move the horizon with the R value at 7/6R, then you've got a paradox. You can't measure R to move the horizon with R. It's refracted, right, well, non-geometric then, no tangent line. No X marks the spot with a straight line drawn to it, giving you the parameters of your R value that you can assume no more. Bye-bye, globe. It all died with this. 2020, 1st Jan, this image. Black Swan Modus Tollens argument. If Earth is a sphere, radius 3959, every distance to horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And this image shows the horizon beyond 10 miles from a 1 foot observer height. The horizon should be at 1.2 miles, massively out of frame in the near foreground. This is at full zoom. And it's not. It's beyond 10 miles. The horizon's not a physical Earth curve edge obstruction. It's not obstructing anything. And it's physically moved. You can't move a physical location.
A lot of deaths in 2020. Not just the ball. America died in 2020.
It's going to get political.
Well,
Say your
Tim
pain.
Osman conceded by saying we've never said Earth curve is the horizon.
Yeah, but he actually had posted an image of this is Earth curve with multiple shots of the horizon claimed to be blocking things in the distance. That was a really silly move. A wonderful way to round out 2020. Start of the year, Black Swan. This kind of crap with the donkey dick horizon at H when they need a dotted line physical tangent point at G. Why is it dotted? Oh, because we wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon that Al-Biruni measured this R value with from G to C. Well, if it's dotted because you can't see it anymore, you're never going to measure it to move it. So that's where we started the year. End of the year, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Now let's look at my pictures that are labelled this is Earth curve that are of the horizon.
Classic.
Embarrassing if you're a globehead and you come here. You're force-fed the blue pill if you come and watch the show as a globehead. It's been quite nice, actually, without Discord for a change. In some ways,
lots of good deep discussions today.
Well, they accuse it of being an echo chamber, circle jerk, etc., etc. It's like, well, some days it would be nice to not have to deal with the fundies, just have a chit-chat amongst ourselves about where we're at, which is what we've done today. But, ultimately speaking, I can always say, look, there's a link there to join, and plenty of people did join the Discord server while today's show was running to discuss things amongst themselves unaired. Well, fair enough, if I've got a technical issue one day. But it is still nice to have a little chat amongst ourselves, would you not agree?
Totally. In fact, it's normal. Life functions this way. It would be like a bunch of guys together after a round of, whatever. They play soccer and they go to a pub and they're talking, and all of a sudden, an opposing team member shows up and wants to start a little fight. We say, wait a minute, we're talking about the plays we did today. It was nice without you here, but since you want to fight, come in here. We'll still beat you because you ain't got no R.
But I see, I like comparing it to a bar, right? Ultimately speaking, it's just a franchise, and I'm just the manager, if you like, right? It's ultimately owned by YouTube, so we've got to abide by their rules and so on and so forth. But within the bar, right, occasionally there's things like COVID lockdowns, and when that happens unexpectedly, suddenly all the bar staff are inside the room going, "You what? Tomorrow we won't open? But well, what about tonight? We're all here. The doors are closed." Let's have a little chat. Let's sit down and have a beer. If we're not opening tomorrow, what the hell? Let's have a sitting down and a chit chat. It's foisted upon them like today's Discord issue was foisted upon me. As much as I spent 10 minutes faffing around to try and solve it, you reach a point where you go, I can't solve it. Let's just enjoy the time that we've got. Why not? Life is pretty sweet from our side of this fence. So when things like this happen, am I going to get all worried about it? Not really. I'm sure it'll figure itself out by tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's normal. But when I get together with my friends and we're ready for a big game, no matter what the sport is, it could be Roger Federer in tennis or it could be something else. We reminisce about, hey, remember 5 years ago when he had that final and the way he played? That was and so we're reminiscing, we're talking, we're having fun. I mean, there's plenty of subjects here.
Yeah, do you remember that time when we discussed the Isle of Man and we were so concerned with how much or how little or how comparatively useful it was to use a photograph when comparing side view, begging the question curve maths? Oh, we spent hours going through it. And every single conversation we ever had whilst begging the question with that curve calculator left the globe side in a win. Every single effort that we made that we thought was so important while we developed our little model, it was all for nothing. The entire time we were losing.
But not no more.
No, not anymore. But at the time it seemed so important. Now it seems so irrelevant. Well, every single question that was answered from our side that we thought we got a win on. No, we're sat with a curve calculator open on screen that assumes this Al-Biruni measurement to be true every single time you open the website.
We have to go through those processes to get to where we are now.
Yeah. And when we got to the point that we said, hang on a second, what's this R value in this begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator? We debunked every aspect of it from inside out. Mostly because Anthony wanted to, and I'm like, as soon as I realised it's a begging the question fallacy, I'm like, why the hell are we even doing this? So we've got to automatically, as a flat earther, assume we're on a sphere to have this argument with them. Man, that seems very disadvantaged from our perspective. Why are we begging the question? Where's your proof of R? Give it us. And their answer, well, we already know we're on a sphere. It's perfectly acceptable to assume the R value. Like, no, you've got to be able to measure it. And the Black Swan 2020 showed that they couldn't because they don't have a physical sphere edge for a horizon anymore. That was the end of the argument. We had to go into their fallacy and beg the question alongside them after realising that they were begging the question when we used the curve maths. But then we said, your curve math's based on physical geometry and it's got limitations. As soon as you breach them, it's dead.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, look, we live on a sphere. Oh, you want me to show you R? Well, we wouldn't expect to see it.
We wouldn't expect to see geometry. We wouldn't expect to see a physical geometric Earth curve edge. That would only exist if we sucked all the air out.
Yeah, it's like a guy saying, I'm rich, I got all the money. I said, good, let's go to your bank. Let me see your money. Well, we wouldn't expect to find it in the bank. Well, then you're not rich, like you claim.
Yeah, likewise, it's not a globe, like you would claim, because it would have a physical edge.
Sorry, I was going to say you could suck all the money away from the rich people, just like you suck all the air out.
I love you, Neil. I love you, Neil. Keep it up.
You still watch TV, Neil?
Only football. Only the sports. And Cobra Kai.
So during sports,
Cobra Kai.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but during those presentations, you get commercials, you get news, all the other things get interjected in between, right?
Yeah, if the TV's on, yeah, there's commercials.
Right, so you are...
Yeah, and all this shit jumped in by itself, huh?
So just get rid of your TV, Neil.
What did you say?
Get rid of your TV. Get rid of it.
I didn't say what you say. One of my jerky guys that I work with says what you say.
Oh, I'm saying get rid of your TV and you will be happier. You're saying that last year was the worst year ever? Pff, I don't see it that way. But I wasn't subject to constant programming and bombardment of that nonsense. Only by other people who were subject to it was I subject to it. You know, by proxy. Well, it didn't really affect me, 2020. Now, I don't need to go into the details of how it affected or what was the cause of the effect on people. You know, I don't need to discuss the Hegelian dialectic here. I'm sure everyone's well aware of it on this side of this particular fence, right? But it didn't affect me very much. I've got to be honest, Neil. Didn't really affect my wife or kids very much, other than their various lessons being cancelled, the private lessons, I might add.
No, but it affected the finances.
It did affect my finances because
a lot.
Yeah, it affected my finances, I'll agree. But ever since becoming a YouTuber, I've learned to live on an absolute knife edge in terms of finances.
You get thrown off. I'm going to show you that.
I'm just saying, yeah, it affected me too, because the people who have got the time to watch the show and donate are generally going to be individuals that have got at least some disposable income. And those are the people that are hardworking folk, right? Well, that affected me as much as it affected them because I'm dependent on them. As much as that is me with my cap out, busking. Well, the buskers are going to do badly if no one's got any change in their pockets. Well, that's the reality for me too. However, you know, being on a knife edge isn't something I'm unfamiliar with. I've gone through times in my life where I've had loads of money as a rep. I was rich, driving a rich man's car and wearing a rich man's suit and buying rich man's stuff. Well, you know, those are times that, to be honest, didn't leave me very happy. Now, throughout those periods, although when I was rich enough, I did have satellite TV. Satellite. Anyway, I had TV from a dish because I could afford it. But throughout periods of my life from being a student, when I left home about 16, I couldn't afford TV and didn't have it, and very quickly learnt the benefits of it, of not having it early on in life. And I'm saying, my best advice to you, Neil, get rid of your TV. I guarantee within 6 months of adjustment to not having it, you'll have found other stuff to do that's far more beneficial to you than watching your foosball or listening to the news when it's on in the background. You know, you might get into more music, you might find yourself going out more, having more walks, spending more time with your family, talking to your family. All those sorts of things are wonderful. And I wouldn't give up on any of them. And I can't bear the idea of having a TV. To the point where one of the reasons I've got a projector is because it also limits the amount of time I can spend in front of movies. So
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, you do. You've just told us all about... Don't give me a cognitive
I watched the
dissonance.
sports. I got hooked on the politics while I was out, but that's it. I just plug into like YouTube channels that 10th Man turned me on to. But I don't watch like TV shows.
Yeah, you do.
TV.
You just said you watched Cobra Kai. I've no idea what that is, but I know it's a TV show.
Cobra Kai is a Netflix, no commercials. It's about the Karate Kid.
Hold on, let me get this straight. You're saying no, Netflix ain't TV.
It's Cobra Kai. It's season 3, man. I've been waiting a year for that.
Netflix is TV.
Brilliant.
For the purposes of this example, just because TV has evolved a little bit into being on a piece of wire rather than claim to be transmitted from satellites, right? Or on a wire, coincidentally. The fact that it comes through a wire and goes into a computer, even then it's the same. The bloody set-top box is a computer. Nothing's changed. Netflix is TV. The fact that you pay to a different type of subscription to a different type of service means nothing. It's the same exact thing.
You know, while the show was going on and my TV turned on for some reason, I went to my yachting videos. I've been watching boat videos and yacht videos. They're beautiful.
TV's poison, Neil. You saying that it's been a miserable year is predominantly, how do you say that word? Predominantly? There you go. Because of having a poisonous source of horrible influence in your life. Radio's just as bad.
No, there's personal things too. Like I had a few people die. I mean, like that. You know, stuff like that. TV has nothing to do with.
Fair enough. I can't speak to that. Obviously, that's tragic.
You got to deal with that.
No,
but as far as working wise, it is terrible. It's terrible. Once that lockdown happened, I didn't freaking work. I had to perform miracles.
Right. No, I totally get it. And every time you've said it in the past, I've sympathised. And there's not a great deal I can do about it. But there is something that I can do to cheer you up. To get rid of your telly. Have less poison in your life.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe I'm the only one. Has everybody here got access to TV? Am I the only one that's cut it out of my life?
I have. I'm a bit like Neil, except I might catch it the odd time. See, Marie hardly has the telly on when she's in, out and just maybe a bit of background. But it's not like news and stuff. It's been like Christmas movies, women like made for TV, stuff like that. So she'll have just something sloshy entertainment. But the avoidance of, oh man, bloody phone. I'll get it in a sec. But the avoidance of like mainstream news and that, like I said the other day, just 5 minutes on, and I'm just, if I hear it, I start shouting at the TV, so it goes off straight away. I don't let it interrupt my life because, like I say, even if you feel it coming in, it can just feel the agitation. It causes it.
I'm glad you said that. Did you hear that, Neil? So it just comes on and you find yourself wanting to shout at the TV. Does that sound like fun? No, is the answer.
Yes, I hear you. I'm just working right now.
Sure, but you cut that out. And I'm talking to you now as well, Adam. You're off the hook for a minute. Neil. Right? I'm sure when that happens, you do that, right? That's happened. You've verbalised it because it's happened, right, Adam? Who's off mute?
Yeah, it's turn it off.
Neil, can you go on mute?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But you're describing a poisonous scenario. You're subjecting yourself to it.
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Look, it's there, and unfortunately, I do subject myself to a poisonous thing, which is called Nottingham Forest Football Club, which it inflicts a lot of pain to me every bloody week. But that's why it's there, and I'm like, I'm not giving up that bread and lard. I have enjoyment there and escapism, so I've always had that. So I won't give up that. The wife likes the TV, but like I say, I think I totally agree with you, Nathan. What I don't allow is the state to come through that box. Now, that's what, and like I say, if it does pop in, it's off. Do you know what I mean? So.
Here, go to Master B. You'll see what I've been watching for the last hour.
But
it's just one.
What I do without it? Yes.
just as a last example, in 1984, when do they call them telescreens? He's having his affair. He's doing it in secret, and then it turns out that there's a telescreen in there. Well, I see that as an analogy where the misapprehension that the propaganda doesn't reach you if you haven't got, let's say, a wired cable box or a TV license with a set-top box or whatever the means that there is of acquiring this information. Well, I only watch Netflix. It's like, no, that's the metaphorical equivalent of the telly screen or whatever they call it in 1984 actually still being there. You might think you've got rid of all the telly screens, but your iPad's still watching you. You know what I mean?
You see the picture, Master B?
I don't, because I'm just about to round out, but I'm sure we'll discuss it tomorrow 10th. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to G+, because we didn't have a Discord server today, for making today's Uncut after show and live show all possible. What a wonderful panel I absolutely have. So a massive thank you again to Google for making today's live show and after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.